Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final board meeting of the 2023-2024 school year on June 18th, 2024. My name is Kat Eddy, and I'm board chair for ST 72 Campbell River. I would like to begin by acknowledging that this meeting is taking place on the territories of the Liquidol Nations, and I would like to honor and thank them for their generational stewardship of these lands that are just so beautiful this evening and such an incredible place to live, work, and play. Please note that there is a 10 to 30 second production delay between the live event and that you are viewing and the meeting participants. The question and answer function is open online for questions on the agenda item throughout this meeting, and a final call for questions will be made after the last agenda item and will be addressed at the end of the session. So on to chairperson's remarks. So in this evening's package, you will see a notice of motion that has been brought forth by the Board Governance Committee, and it's regarding our policy number 7, which is the Trustee Code of Conduct. The Trustee Code of Conduct is a provincial review that was began through BCSTA in partnership with the Ministry of Education and Childcare. And it was a review asking all governance teams to dig into their trustee code of conducts and evaluate them and have conversation around actions at the table, partially to address some of the growing polarization we're seeing in our political climate, and to just reinstill in trustees the importance of working collaboratively with children's outcomes at the center of all decisions. Also, I would like to take this moment to highlight an exciting award provided to 2 of our teachers here in the school district through the Prime Minister's office. So one of our teachers at Timberline, Stephen Joyce, and one of our teachers at Carihi High, Natalie Ray Wolf Pogue, have received regional mentions, and the only teachers in BC to receive regional mentions from the Prime Minister's Office for Teaching Excellence. So thank you. Thank you for your work, and thank you for continuing to contribute to the educational outcomes of our kids. That's great, both for our high schools. And finally, in wrap up, I just want to take a moment to highlight some events that will be happening on National Indigenous Day, which is this Friday, June 21st. Summer solstice. Liquidol Family Life Society is sponsoring a number of events, and they've been doing this. This is probably about the 11th or 12th year that they've pulled together this celebration. So activities begin at 8 a.m. with a 5-kilometer walk run beginning at Liquidol District Health, which used to be the old KDC Health building beside the Kwanwatsi Big House. So it's going to start there at 8 a.m. We'll go out to the end of the spit, turn and come back, and then there'll be a pancake service. Well, they'll be serving pancakes. A pancake breakfast served, followed by some dancing and some opening ceremony speeches at the Kwanwatsi Big House, and a march over the Spirit Square, where events will continue through the day until 5 p.m. with music and dancing, and lunch will be provided. It's all very family friendly. It's a really great way to come out and introduce your kids to some traditional dance and music, and have a great time hanging out with our neighbors in the Indigenous community. And on to superintendent's remarks.
Thank you, Chair Eddy. Just as an addition to your comments on the 2 teachers in the school district, there's a nice write-up on the school district webpage for you to check out and read all about the great work that they're doing, and we really appreciate having them in our school district doing amazing work that's recognized all the way up to the Prime Minister's office. So that's outstanding. Speaking of awards and moving forward, we had our Indigenous grad just a little over a week ago, and now we move on with more grad ceremonies this week. Rob Braun will be having grad ceremonies on Thursday morning and afternoon at their school site. Carihi High's grad will be next Tuesday evening, and Timberline's grad is next Wednesday evening. So we're at that time of the year where things are beginning to wrap up, and we're looking forward to those celebrations as they come. I had a bit of a Nice celebration. Personally, I was able to finally get out to the last school on my list for the school year to make sure I saw every single site. So I was able to go up to Surge Narrows and visit one of our rural schools, and it really reminded me of what a unique school district Campbell River is to have urban city schools and also rural remote schools like Sayward, Surge Narrows, Cortez, even Quadra. It really diversifies our school district, and it's nice to be able to go out and get a real community feel at a school like Surge Narrows. We had a wonderful time. They hosted us for a barbecue and lunch, got to tour the school. The students gave us a play performance, and adults there also serenaded us with 5 or 6 songs. It was just a great day. We're able to take 6 or 7 district people out to help check out their technology and their maintenance and grounds, and delivered some supplies and equipment to them. So it was just a great way to spend a day, and a great way to wrap up being able to visit all of our sites and to see how diverse they are. As we move into the summer season, unfortunately in BC, we've come to a time now where in the summer we face wildfires and heat domes and things that we're not used to. I just wanted to let everybody know that the Island Health and the medical officer have posted informative documents on extreme heat, schools and childcare facilities, wildfire smoke, and how that pertains to school and childcare facilities, traffic-related air pollution, also referring to school and childcare facilities, as well as ventilation and indoor air quality. And you can find all of those. We'll post these sites when we do our summary of the board meeting, so people can access those. If you go onto those sites, it just gives a plethora of information regarding what you can do to keep yourself safe, and what measures British Columbia has put into place should an emergency be called.
Yeah.
Lastly, I would just like to say, I find it hard to believe that here we are sitting at our last board meeting of the year. What a fantastic year it's been for me, my introduction to Campbell River. What an amazing school district this is. We have a fantastic board, fantastic people that work to serve all the families and students in this area. I couldn't be happier where I am, and I just have had such a wonderful time, and I'm looking forward to planning and moving ahead and having a great year and for years to come. So thank you, everybody. It's been a great school year.
Thank you, Superintendent Manning. We think you're pretty okay too.
You are coming back.
Moving on to approval of minutes. And the motion reads that the minutes of the meeting of May 28th, 2024 are hereby approved as circulated. Trustee Gladish, seconded by Trustee Briggs. All those in favor? Thank you. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, are there any additions or alterations to the agenda? Seeing none, the motion for the approval of the agenda reads that the agenda is hereby approved as circulated. May I have a mover? Trustee Gillis and Trustee McMahon. All those in favor? So moved. Report of board decisions from the June 18th confidential meeting. Vice Chair Gillis.
Thank you. Yes, we dealt with teaching, administrative, and support staff changes, as well as legal and financial issues.
Thank you, Vice Chair Gillis. There is no correspondence, public submissions, or agenda submissions this evening. No educational submissions, so on to elected and board matters, which is 12A, Board Governance Policy Notice of Motion. Trustee Gillis.
Yes. Well, you'll see in your package the product of the work of our governance and policy committee, and we're asking for approval of this trustee code of conduct, as Chair Eddie has stated in her opening remarks. I think it's very important for us to be very clear about our expectations, our enforcement and procedures. And given the fact that I think we have benefited from looking at some other codes of conduct, I think we've been able to shape a very workable and very positive code of conduct that we will be able to embrace. So I think it will stand as a good model for the other codes of conduct that we will probably be looking at in order to satisfy Ministry of Education and Child Care expectations.
Awesome.
So
So just to clarify, this is a notice of motion. So this code of conduct in its draft form will be posted on the school district website for review. And it will come back to the September 3rd meeting for first, second, and
yes.
first, second, and any revisions for second and third. Thank you very much to our Governance and Policy Committee. Do you have a comment, Joyce?
I do have a small comment. I think, sometimes there can be the sense that these codes of conduct come up as a reaction to something. And I would like to clarify that this is a document that is intended to serve us should we ever get into trouble in this, in this area. But in fact, it's sort of proactive rather than reactive.
Yes, and thank you so much for framing that, because it is very much so a proactive document meant to help our governance model as we move forward.
And I would also like to add that this is just the first of many policy revisions that we've been making before, and we're very excited to be current and responsive, yes, in anticipation of good solid policy as a foundation for our operations. Thank you.
Thank you. We need a pitch policy. Trustee. On to 12B, which is the trustee travel per diem recommendation, Secretary Treasurer Patrick.
Yeah, so I've got the per diem rate review. The Trustees Association annually will collect remuneration for trustees and also look at other items. And one of those is the per diem meal allowances for trustees. And they will send that list out to us. And our board policy actually says that the per diems should be tied to the BCSTA rates as they set them. Now, mileage has always been tied to that rate, and it adjusts automatically annually without having to come to the board. But the per diem has actually, it hasn't always been automatic. We have brought it to the board for approval, because sometimes the board approves it, sometimes the board does not support it. As you can see, with the review, the BC Trustees Association has a rate that is much higher than what we currently have. And it is not the highest of the districts that we have presented, but it is on the higher end. This rate does set the district standard rate. So if the board, whatever the board sets, it will apply to all employees looking to claim a per diem or meal allowances. So it is just much broader than just the few trustee events that trustees travel to each year. It will apply to all staff. I have a rough calculation of $1,500, $2,000 for this increase, district-wide. And yeah, it is obviously one component of the remuneration is separate, but I will look for the board to pass this, which again, it is in the policy, but considering this sensitivity of it, I would like to see a board motion supporting it or not supporting it.
Thank you, and I do have a motion here, and just to highlight that the mileage rate automatically
Goes up, and it has every year. Yep.
and then this is just specifically to the per diem rates for this.
Yes, that's right.
So the motion reads that the board approve the adjustments to the per diem rates as outlined in the summary provided by Secretary Treasurer Patrick. Do I have a mover? Trustee Hagan and a seconder, Trustee Gladish. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. So passed. And on to 12C, which is the trustee remuneration recommendation.
Yes. So continuing on, now even before the BCSTA did the annual collection and review of remuneration, our district has had a formula in place that was community developed independently, that set the trustee remuneration rates. It looks at a combination of other school districts of similar size on the island. That's about half of the formula. It looks at just what the average remuneration is for each position, but then it also breaks it down further. The other half impact is the number of students. So it will break down their remuneration and into a per student remuneration. So as the school district shrinks, you very well could see this number go down. But it kind of balances out so that it's not just who's the fastest to the top. It has a consideration of what some of the changes are. So like Stuk is growing a lot. That's not just going to pull everybody up because it does get balanced with the per student cost. So the increases though are a little bigger this year. The formula is recommending an increase of just over 1,000 for the chair position, just under 1,000 for the vice chair, and like 940 for the trustees. So the new recommendations are listed at the bottom of your report for the board to approve, and this is one that the board gets to approve. I just do have to point out though that as it does go up each year. So whatever, if there's a difference now, it'll likely be larger next year and even larger the year after.
So we do have a motion regarding the compensation recommendation that reads that the board recommends an adjustment to trustee compensation as per the formula adopted by the board in 2005, which is reviewed on an annual basis and will take effect on July 1st of the new fiscal year. May I have a mover? Trustee Hagan, seconded by trustee Gillis. Is there any discussion? No. Trustee Hagan.
Yeah, so this was brought up quite a few years ago in that it's hard to give yourself a raise. And so it was thought the best way to do that was to select people from the community who are highly esteemed and for them to come up with a working formula to show gradual. That's exactly what Secretary Treasurer was saying, is that so now that recommendation has led to continuous raises, or in the case of losing a population of going down, but at least you're not having to continually try to figure out, well, how much should I give ourselves for a raise? At one time, we were the lowest paid trustees in the province because we kind of had this little bit of self-pride that, we do it out of the goodness of our hearts, but it's hard to tie in all the different aspects of being a school trustee without some kind of remuneration going with it, and that people can afford daycare and the different things that go on. So that's the way the process came in, and I think it's quite a fair one.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to echo much of what Trustee Hagan has said, and I appreciate this report that's given to us, that it has a formula attached from Secretary Treasurer Patrick. And when I look at this data, I see that we are in that lower portion and so that doesn't make me feel that we're out of line in terms of moving this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee McDonough.
Yeah, just as a sort of a sidebar to the conversation, I noticed that in our governance policy 24, it says the board shall authorize trustee remuneration, a part of which shall be tax-free amount. Well, that was.
Update the policy
Yeah.
because the Prime Minister changed that. The Prime Minister changed that about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, thank you.
But I also point that out
Yeah,
as,
no, that's a good point.
there was a time when a portion, was it a third? A third of the remuneration was tax-free, and that no longer is the case, so that also impacts over time.
So that, and the reason it was tax-free, it was meant to offset expenses incurred by trustees, so at the time, trustees may not have been reimbursed for per diems and things like that, so things have evolved.
Yeah, okay, but that being.
Thank
great,
you, I appreciate it.
I'd like to call the vote on the motion on the floor regarding the trustee compensation recommendation. All those in favor? So approved. On to 13A, educational issues, the board authority authorized courses, Superintendent Manning.
Thank you, Chair Eddie. Board authority authorized courses. In the course of a student's career, they are required to take a total of 80 credits. 44 are required course credits, 28 are elective credits. Within those 28 credits, they could choose board authority authorized courses. And what those are, they are locally developed courses by educators. It might have to do have something to do with your local geography. If you have the ability to run a program, fly fishing is a popular program in a school district, something like that. So a board authority authorized course is how you get that course. We have 3 BAWs that have been presented to us for the board to consider. These courses have to be approved by the boards to be able to go into the course selection books for students in our school district. The 3 courses that are up this time around are all wellness courses. So it's a Wellness 10, Wellness 11, and Wellness 12 course. And just a brief summary, the course has been developed to provide experiential instruction for students who experience barriers to their social, emotional, academic, or physical well-being. So these courses are structured to support students that have a D, G, or H, or R designation, but could be suited for other students. And it's really the aim is to give them a consistency of practice and a variety of trauma-informed wellness strategies that they might encounter in situations in their daily lives. So it's pretty specific to those students who have those needs. These courses have never been offered before in our district, and we have a number of students who are in those designated categories. So it could serve a great purpose really to get those kids additional credits in life skills that they need to be successful after graduation. So those have been presented to you. They're in your package. It's very well detailed. It follows the format that the ministry requires of these courses. I'm just putting it before the board for your consideration.
Trustee Hagan.
I'd like to move all 3 courses, wellness 10, 11, and 12.
And can we do that all in one reading?
Sure.
So let me just read that the board approved the wellness 10, 11, 12 board authority authorized BAA course as presented for inclusion in the school district course offerings. So moved by trustee Hagan. Is there a seconder? Trustee Briggs, is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about it. If we can do that before we do the
Absolutely,
vote.
trustee Gladish.
I'm just wondering, is there a limit as to how many locally developed courses a student can take as part of their sort of credits, electives towards graduation?
Yeah, students can only take students need 28.
28, so of that.
So of that, there is no limit.
Okay.
I mean, they could choose anything of the following. They could choose a grade 10, 11, or 12 ministry developed course. They could do external credits. They could do a BAW course. They could do post-secondary credits and or independent directed studies. So there's a number of them. And And students don't have to stop when they get to 80 credits. Lots of our students graduate with well more than 80 credits.
I'd be really curious to know what the lineup of locally developed credits are at some point, just
Yeah.
because I think it's really interesting, you know, that it's such an opportunity to create something that would be so meaningful for some students with a particular area of interest. And I'm also wondering, you know, there's such an opportunity as well for maybe some Indigenous local history
Yes.
as being a locally developed course for all students to take, in addition to those that are provincially mandated. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in the works.
It is in the works, and the ministry has been very supportive of
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
The key guiding factor is always to consult with your
course.
local Indigenous groups and work on those courses together. Many districts maybe jumped out ahead of the game and tried to develop those courses without the consultation, and the FNESC and the ministry put the brakes on that and said, you need to be working with your organizations to do that. So, yeah, we would love to see that.
Great, thank you.
Trustee McMahon.
Yes, kind of taking off from trustee Gladish's comments. Over the years, I've seen a number of the BAAs come through, very exciting courses being developed, and you can see the passion behind the people who create them. But we don't really have any tracking of how long they last. Is it one course and then it's gone, or do some of them endure over time? And what the variety of courses out there for our students today might be, or in September might be, that would be of interest to me.
Okay, we could probably do that.
Yeah.
Trustee Phillips.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to applaud whoever developed the course, because I believe in a time when there are many social, emotional needs being presented, we have to be responsive to that as a school system. I'm curious about the delivery, if you know more about, would this be an individualized program that someone receives, or would it be possibly a teacher-led group or course?
It would be a teacher-led group or course, and just to, you know, answer your question.
Yeah,
The premier recognized teacher was the one that did all of these courses.
Oh,
in that
okay.
area.
okay.
Was the one who developed these. So she's got lots of experience, and
Mhm.
you know, the way the course is designed, they would take those groups of students as a cohort, teach that course.
It aligns really well with our health and wellness framework too.
Well, with our student-centered learning environment.
Absolutely.
Calling the vote for the question, all those in favor of approving 10, 11, and 12 board wellness. So approved unanimously, thank you. On to 12 or 13, 12. 13B, digital device restrictions in schools, Superintendent Manning.
Okay, here we go. As you all know, we've talked about this for quite a while. It's been coming down the pipe for a while. Personal digital devices at school. We have developed an operational procedure that you see in your board package, 13B. And really, the operational procedure is just part of what we're rolling out. The operational procedure covers new restrictions on the use of digital devices in all of our schools. We were mandated by the ministry to cover a number of areas. There were 6 in total that are covered off by this operational procedures. And really, what the ministry's aim and goal is to create more structured learning time in schools and reduce the amount of distractions that were happening in our schools. Certainly at the secondary and middle school level, but maybe even a little bit at sometimes at elementary. And so the guiding principle of this operational procedure is really to make instructional time. That doesn't mean that digital devices will never be used in school. They can be used during instructional time under the supervision of a teacher. Or if there was a special day where you were bringing your device to school for an educational purpose. At elementary school, it basically amounts to no cell phones, at school. Middle school, students can bring them to school, but they will be expected to be kept away. Good timing on that.
It's for you.
I'm looking to move this policy to the trustees as well.
You're obviously getting a reaction, right?
At middle school, students will be able to bring them to school, but they'll be expected to be away for the day. And then at secondary school, students will keep them put away except for at break and lunch times. Always they will be able to use them under the direction of the teacher, but that should be for instructional purposes only. We also have a letter that's going to be coming out from the school district to all of our parents that outlines our procedures moving forward. When it comes to school individual consequences and codes of conduct, we are not going to micromanage that at the school level, but schools will be developing their own codes of conduct for infractions and for when people are not following those rules and what we're going to do about that, and have discussions with staff as well. As one of the administrators that was on the committee really aptly put, he said, we're developing a brand new culture here. So there's going to be some bumps along the way. And, you know, we're going to have to work together as we create this new culture that hopefully will lead to more positive, effective learning environments.
Thank you. Any comments? Any questions? Trustee Higgin?
Yes, I know that there are certain medical situations in which people use their cell phones with diabetes, for example. We have a number of, I hate to say it, children who really have no care at home, but they have to phone and make sure that the parents have to do those. So I imagine that we won't become the digital device police personnel there, that this is focused on education. From what I understand, we want to improve the quality of education. And this is just one small way in which we can say, you know, we have to pull the reins in on this. And what we're looking for is not to stop what's necessary, but to encourage learning, which we think is necessary. And so I don't know what the address to that would be, but hopefully we don't have to be setting a whole pile of specific rules in place to say, okay, your phone's gone, you're going to be, penalties are applied. It just doesn't seem like a good positive learning environment, but I don't know. It's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because, you know, the operational procedure speaks specifically to accessibility and accommodation needs, as well as medical and health needs. So there is was an awareness by the ministry and an awareness that we followed that, you know, we make allowances for all of those things to make sure that we're building not only a positive environment, but a necessary environment for some of those students that have those needs. So that's written within the policy. And yeah, we have no interest in becoming the cell phone police, that's for sure. But I think it's like the administrator was saying, we're going to slowly have to build that culture of change, and it'll take a little while. It's not going to happen overnight, but we'll work together and do the best that we can.
Thanks. Thank you. Trustee Gillis?
Yeah, given that this is a provincial mandate, I believe that, you know, we will see support. I hope we will see support from our public, from our families, and that we will give over both the responsibility and the trust to the professionals, to our teachers, who I think will be able to make sound judgment of when that might become important to become part of that instructional package, as opposed to becoming a distraction that people are always having.
Thank you. You know, this is kind of out of turn, but I do have one question about the policy. It does state that instructional purposes that all school will have digital devices available for instructional purposes and digital literacy. That being stated, do we have the resources to ensure that we have digital devices available to all classrooms?
That is mainly speaking to the fact that schools do have computers and do have technology that supplies that on a daily basis for students. So I think that's also, in terms of the accessibility, we do not want to disadvantage any students who don't have the financial wherewithal to purchase something like that. So we make sure we have devices in our school to cover that, and we always have since we've had technology in our schools.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, moving on to agenda item 14A under business administration, the 24-25 major capital plan application. Secretary Treasurer Patrick.
So this is our major capital request to the ministry. It is the same as it has been for a number of years with no changes. We're looking for additions to two schools, replacement of Cedar, and then a number of seismic upgrades. Now, we are nearing the conclusion of the next 10-year facility plan. So I suspect if none of these are funded, that we might see some changes based on recommendations out of that facility plan for next year. But at this point, it's not concluded. We haven't brought that to the board for review and conversation. So we'll submit with this current plan. This is for the big stuff, and then we have another minor capital request that we'll bring to the board in fall. Of that, we get a lot of that funded in that group, so.
Thank you. So we do have a motion to approve the capital plan application that in accordance with provisions under section 1424 of the School Act, the Board of Education of ST 72 Campbell River hereby approves the proposed major capital programs plan for 2024-2025 as provided on the capital plan summary for the 24-25 submitted to the Ministry of Education and Childcare. May I have a mover? Trustee Gillis, seconded by Trustee Harper. All those in favor? So moved. And just a comment from the chair. The fact that we've had the same number of projects on this application for as long as I've been a trustee, just speaks to the BCSPA report that has just recently been released about capital deficiencies, the capital deficiency report, and the fact that we're something like $90 million or $1 billion behind on replacements and renovations of public buildings in just school. So it's interesting to see the alignment.
I voted with my fingers crossed this time, so.
Excellent. Excellent. I hope that it works, Trustee Gillis. I'd love to see a new Cedar. And on to our final item on the agenda this evening, which is the finance warrant dated May 31st, 2024, with the details of expenditures and revenue.
So moved.
So that the finance warrant number 11 dated May 31st, 2024 be accepted as presented. Trustee Hagan seconded by Trustee Gladish, and all those in favor? So moved. And just as the final question period of our final board meeting of 23-24. Any questions from either the gallery? The gallery? Hi. How are you, Deb?
Good. I have two questions.
Okay.
This one might be through the chair to Mr. Patrick. Did I hear that the per diem rates are not just for trustees, but for all employees? And would that include teachers, for example, going on professional development opportunities and things like that? Is that how that's decided? Or did I misunderstand that statement?
The per diem rate is available. I believe maybe it will be up to the Pro-D committee to change that one. But for all QP members, for all exempt staff traveling, for teachers, just traveling under district, it will be the trustee per
The
diem.
same trustee rate,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. And, second question, I am assuming since it is a board operational policy, I think, or procedure, that the cell phone, digital device restrictions in school policy did not have people, that the committee was made up of senior administration and board members, not of employee representatives.
The committee was made up of myself and school administrators, and we passed that by the IEC as well for feedback. And all of that was based on guidelines given to us by the Ministry of Education.
Thank you. Follow-up question? Do you suspect that the school codes of conduct regarding the cell phone policy will have teachers and or TV staff on those committees as those are developed at the school level?
I would definitely expect that to happen.
Well, no questions for me. Thank you, Deborah. Are there any online questions?
No, they're not.
Okay, seeing that there are no, trustee Hagan,
Oh, German.
motion to adjourn. Thank you so much.